Hello everybody and welcome back to Odin's movie blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well. And today, first off, welcome back. I have been on vacation for the last few days, and so that is the reason why you've had a bunch of pre-recorded videos, but I am now back. And oh my goodness, guys, y'all have been contacting me on Twitter, and I've been seeing so many videos talking about the whole Captain Marvel Rotten Tomatoes nonsense. And of course, all of this came out when I was on vacation, and so I was not able to actually cover it. And so as soon as I got home, I was like, all right, let me take care of everything that I need to take care of, and then let me just sit down and record this, because I've been following some of this stuff, and I've been doing a little bit of research so that I could be prepared to actually make this video. And so basically what we have here is I'm going to break down why Rotten Tomatoes is a terrible website, why their system is so skewed towards various films, and also why the media itself is pretty much being a bunch of contradictory asshats, for lack of a better term, where they can't even, they are so inconsistent with their own ratings of things, and it really does show. And I think the reason why I'm actually glad that they've done this and why I'm glad that they've been inconsistent is that it shows how Rotten Tomatoes is a broken system. Why the Rotten Tomatoes so-called fresh rating is just a bunch of crock. And because I know a lot of people have been saying, hey, certain people wrote certain reviews, and they were definitely like negative, but then they somehow got a fresh rating from it. Is this Rotten Tomatoes just making stuff up? Is this something that's happening on Rotten Tomatoes' end, or is this something going on the critics' end? Well, the short answer is it is the critics' end. So basically, for those that do not know how Rotten Tomatoes works, the numbers that you see there, the 85% fresh rating, the certified fresh rating, all that means is that out of the 178 reviews that have come in, out of the 178 so-called critics that have submitted their reviews to Rotten Tomatoes, 85% of them clicked fresh. So that is what happens. They put in their own review. They put in, again, their review up, and then they get to choose when they put it up on the Rotten Tomatoes whether or not their review is calling the movie fresh or rotten. Those are the two choices they have. They either choose fresh or rotten. The reason why Rotten Tomatoes has this system is because in their minds they think, oh, well, this is a way for us to make it very clear, because one, not all critics use rating systems. You'll see in some reviews, not all critics use a grade. For example, you're not going to see every critic do A, B, C, D. You're also not going to see every critic do, you know, out of 4, out of 5, out of 10. And even when you do have people, and even when you do have critics that do that, everyone uses a different system. And so what Rotten Tomatoes was thinking was, okay, we'll just have it a simple system. They can still say exactly the way they are. They don't have to follow anything else. They don't have to fill anything out. All they have to do is click whether or not they think this movie is a fresh movie or whether it is a rotten movie. Now, as you can see, that can cause a lot of problems, because what that means is that a reviewer can basically crap all over a movie, you know, talk about nothing but how it's a bad movie, say, oh, it doesn't live up to the expectations, doesn't live up to the hype. The lead character, as you see in so many of these reviews, the lead character, Brie Larson, the one who's literally named with the movie, Captain Marvel, is boring, according to so many of these people that have called this movie fresh. And I'm sorry, but last time I checked, anytime any movie has a lead character whose titular character is boring or is not very well done, almost every single time the movie is not good. If you don't have a good centralized character, you really don't have the capacity to have a good movie surrounding it. And yet somehow, some way, these so-called critics were able to come out with fresh ratings. And so I dove into it a little bit deeper to really expose just how these critics are just such shills, for lack of a better term, like total access media people who just care about, you know, basically having the access to the press media, for the press passes, and all this other stuff, so they'll give a fresh rating for various things. In fact, Nerdrotic did a really great video where he broke down a Sci-Fi Wire podcast, where one of the persons literally admits to fudging reviews for the sake of making sure he stays in the good graces. He says, well, every critic at some point in their career has, you know, fudged a review here and there. Basically admitting to something that we already know. And also, this movie is exposing it even more so. Is exposing it even more by the sheer hypocrisy of these idiots. First off, before I actually dive into 3 specific critics who are completely just untrustworthy. In fact, if you've been following them at all, or you know, at all ever read the reviews, at this point in time, you should just say, I'm boycotting you from this point forward, because you've now proven yourself to be completely inconsistent with your rating system, and you have shown yourself to completely not understand what Rotten Tomatoes is viewed as by a lot of different people. This is the reason why, guys, we need a new alternative. That's the reason why me and Freya were working on a alternative website. You know, it's probably going to take several different forms before it finally gets into that point, into that area that we really want it to be. But basically, it's going to be a way for us to try and confirm and make it very clear that there is definitely going to be an objective way of looking at films versus a subjective way of looking at films, and that there's also an area for both things to exist. The problem is that critics used to be, or supposed to be, the voice of objectivity, saying this movie is well made, etc., etc. The plot works, the characters work, the editing works, and that's what they're supposed to say. They're not supposed to pontificate. They're not supposed to get on their high horse and basically go on preaching, saying, oh, this is a feminist film, and so therefore, even though there's a lot of technical problems, even though objectively speaking it sucks, I love it, or even though it objectively sucks, I'm going to protect it because of, I don't want to feed the trolls. You actually had someone on Twitter who actually put that in the review saying, oh, there's so many things that I could say, but I'm not going to say them because I don't want to feed the trolls. I don't want to feed all of the anti-Captain Marvel, alt-right, sexist, racist people. Because, of course, that's the, that is going to be the narrative, especially if this film does not live up to the expectations. You have Mr. John Campea saying, like, oh my gosh, guys, this is tracking to make $350 million this weekend alone. This movie's not going to make $350 million. I'm just saying this right now. I don't know how much it's going to make, to be perfectly honest. We've never really had a situation like this before. Some people say, oh, but Solo is very similar. No, Solo was coming out in the shadow that was The Last Jedi, an entire film that broke an entire fandom. This is a very different situation because you have overall people that are still very much liking the MCU. They're just worried about this particular character and, more importantly, this particular actress, and have problems with this particular actress, and so it's a little bit different. However, because of the fact that there is indeed a backlash, that you have big-name people in Hollywood coming out saying, hey, hashtag Elite Challenge and all these other things, it does beg the question, how much is this, how much is this movie going to end up making? I still think it's going to be profitable because it is an MCU film. I think enough general audience people are going to go show up to this film. The question is, how much is it going to make? To say it's going to make $350 million in this weekend alone, to me, is a fantasy, and I think it's going to fall well short of that number, but we, of course, will end up seeing. However, before getting into these critics, let me just go ahead and point something out to you guys, because this is the number, guys. And you've been following me on Twitter, you've seen me, I talk about this a couple times. This is the number that I've been tracking. Everyone looks at that 85%. How can it be 85%? That's crazy. How can any movie be like 97%, 99%? It doesn't make any damn sense until you actually look at what is being said. All that means, if you ever have a 100% movie or a 99% movie, all that it means is that critics who are pre-approved by Rotten Tomatoes, meaning that they are seen as valid in the eyes of Rotten Tomatoes, and therefore are able to submit their reviews, those who do submit, means that 100% of them, in the cases of the 100% movies, have said that, oh, it's a fresh movie. That doesn't mean, though, that their scores are going to be the exact same. So while everyone's looking at the 85% certified fresh rating, I've been looking at this number right here, the average rating, which is a 6.98 out of 10. Now, for those who failed math, for those who never went to school, what that really accounts to is a 69.8%, which in some schools is a passing grade. However, that's a very, very low D. That is on the cusp of failure. And yet somehow this is a fresh movie. What's interesting to me is this average rating, is the fact that it's at a, it's been at a 7 out of 10 from the very beginning. The more reviews that come out, and the higher that the tomato meter has gotten, that score has either stayed exactly the same or has gone down. Meaning that you have several critics putting reviews out there, clicking off and checking off on that fresh box, but they're actually giving it a low score rating to the point where it's dropping down the score. That means that, that the majority of people going on to put reviews for this, even though they're clicking fresh, the majority of them are putting below a 7 for their rating. Which, last time I checked, is awful. But somehow, it's certified fresh. But this is the number to look to, guys, because again, 7 out of 10 is not good. And people can say, oh, well, we can point to several other MCU that fit, several other MCU films that fit this narrative. That might be true. However, when you look further into these critics, you see a great sense of just total inconsistency on their part. I've also been looking at the top critic rating, which is at a 6.17 out of 10. It's been hovering around a 6 out of 10, which means top critics, the so-called top critics, give it a 60%. A failing grade overall. All critics give it almost a failing grade. See, again, I don't understand how people can say, oh, this just means it's mixed. 7 out of 10 just means, oh, it's a mixed movie. No, a 7 out of 10 means that it's not doing well. Last time I checked. However, that's just me. But let's look into some of these reviews. So let's start off with our first tomato meter approved critic, Pete Hammond. Ah, yes, good old Pete Hammond. So as you can see, he gave this movie a 2.5 out of 5, but he said it was fresh. So once again, the critics not only do they, if they have a rating, give it, but then also they get to check off on whether they think the movie is fresh or whether the movie is rotten. Now, you would think that most critics would have a system saying, okay, if I give this score, it's going to be fresh. If I give this score, it's going to be rotten. However, you see that that's not the case. You see that people like our good old pal Pete here aren't really all that consistent with it. So he gave Rotten Tomatoes, he gave Captain Marvel a fresh rating, a 2.5 out of 5. That's not a very good score. That's literally a 50% right there. That is a failing grade, and yet somehow this is fresh. Now, maybe he's consistent, though. Maybe he's consistent. So let's say 2.5 out of 5, he gave it a fresh. 2 out of 5 rotten. So maybe 2 out of 5 is his rotten score. Okay, so let's see what we have here. Oh, wait a minute, 2 out of 5. Okay, yep, 2 out of 5. He says that's rotten. Okay, that's still consistent with everything he says. 2.5 out of 5. That is indeed fresh rating. Okay, 3.5 out of 5. 3.5 out of 5. Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. 2.5 out of 5. But this time for Venom, he says rotten. So, this is interesting. So someone who says that Captain Marvel 2.5 is fresh, and a couple other movies 2.5 is fresh, says here that Venom is rotten, giving it the same exact score, a 2.5 out of 5. Isn't that convenient? Isn't that convenient? Huh. That's not a conspiracy theory at all, right? 2.5 out of 5, rotten. Interesting. Oh, let's see here, Christy Lemire. And then you'll see Pete Hammond is actually probably the one who has, you know, stayed more consistent than anyone else. But these next two are just fantastic. I love them so much. Seriously, they're fantastic. But anyway, this is Christy Lemire, another Tomato Meter approved critic. That means that she must be great. LA Film Critics Association. You know that therefore everything that she says is great then. 2.5 out of 4 says she says here it's fresh. The girl power and girl power ring out loud and clear, if a bit hollow. Okay, well, it sounds like, oh, ring out loud and clear, but a bit hollow. That doesn't sound like a very fresh movie to me. Let's see, 2 out of 4. Okay, so maybe a 2 is her standard, so another 2.5 here. Wait a minute. This is a lower score. This is a 2 out of 4. Wait a minute. 2 out of 4, and that's rotten for the mule. So wait a minute. 2 out of 4 is rotten, but 2.5 is fresh. 2.5 is fresh. But wait a minute. Okay. So maybe it is the 2 out of 4, right? Maybe it is 2 out of 4. 2 out of 4, 2 out of 4, 2 out of 4. Okay, 2 out of 4. Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. 2.5 out of 10. Okay, she changed her system for that one. That's interesting. 5 out of 10, that's 50%. Okay, so it looks like she just decides to change up her ratings whenever she feels like it. That sounds about right to me, right? Let's see, 4 out of 10. 1.5 out of 4 is rotten. Okay, 2.5. Wait a minute. 2.5 out of 4 is fresh. 3.8 out of 10 is rotten. It's interesting. She just seems to change up her scores whenever she really wants to make it seem like, okay, maybe this film isn't doing all that well. Oh, let's see. Anne Horday. Okay, let's see. 2 out of 4 is rotten. 2 out of 4 is fresh. Wait a minute. 2 out of 4 is rotten. Wait a minute. That doesn't make any sense. 2 out of 4 is rotten. But you just said that it wasn't. Oh, wait. This one was fresh out of 2 out of 4. Okay. Okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. 2 out of 4. That's rotten. 2.5 fresh. Okay. Wait a minute. So, okay. What we've shown here. Now, as you click Christy Lemire, like her biggest crime is essentially making up ratings, changing her ratings, like depending on, you know, what she's going for. Now, some people say, oh, well, it's because she publishes for a lot of different places. So, you know, there's a certain rating system that's in place for What the Flick. There's a certain rating system in place for Roger Ebert. But to me, it just is her making up excuses to, you know, try and basically shoehorn this film in. And again, looking at her reviews. But Anne Horday is probably the worst offender out of all these people because, as you see here, 2 out of 4 is rotten. However, literally back-to-back reviews made a week apart from each other. This time when she said 2 out of 4, oh, wait a minute, that was a rotten score. But this one was 2 out of 4, this one was fresh. What you've now seen here is that what matters is that fresh rating. What matters is what that critic decides to pick on. What matters is the critic decides, oh, even though I'm crapping all over this movie, I think this is fresh. Even though my rating might be failing, even though my rating might in the past have been rotten, instead I'm just going to go ahead and say that it's fresh because I want this number to be high. What you see here is not Rotten Tomatoes, but critics. You see critics essentially hijacking this score. And you see them do it for a lot of films. Basically films that they know, oh, I'm going to get a lot of access to, and oh, okay, I need to support this film because if I don't support this film, then I'm going to look bad. If I don't support this film, then it's going to look bad on me. But I can go after, you know, as you saw, someone went after Venom. Oh, I can go after Venom. I can give Venom a rotten score because, you know, everyone on my side is already going to go after that film in the first place. It's easy to go after that one. But, you know, to stand by my credibility, I'm going to give it the same score. But I'm going to click the fresh instead of rotten score. Again, as you see, guys, this is just total, utter hypocrisy here. But anyway, this is the reason why I'm looking at the average rating. 7 out of 10, not good. 6 out of 10 for top critics, not good either. 64%, ooh, boy. And this number, again, don't pay attention to this number. This number literally means nothing. Rotten Tomatoes has shown itself to not care about what audiences actually think about, what audiences really want. As you can see here, there is not even the thought of an audience score coming available at some point. We'll see if they actually make it live on Thursday or Friday when that happens, and also what process they go by trying to vet out certain scores. All I can say is, guys, don't review bomb it. Don't live up to what they're expecting. Go see the movie, by whatever means that you have to go see the movie and then leave a review. And after you see the movie and leave a review, if you still hated the movie, then leave a negative review. At that point, let them, make it very loud and clear that this movie is in all likelihood going to suck. Especially when you have the majority of critics who are saying in these so-called fresh reviews saying, oh man, like this is not the greatest thing ever. Like, oh, there's a lot of issues here. And obviously everyone has gone down this rabbit hole. Everyone has already pointed out the critics and how they've said very bad things, but have somehow given it a fresh rating. And I've just shown you how you have 3 people here, especially this woman, Anne Hornaday, seriously, like, what in the hell is your problem? Who literally back-to-back gave the same score, but one was fresh and one was rotten in her opinion. And you see her do that constantly. What you see here are critics trying to hijack the score, and also you see here why we need a new system in place. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, smash that like button, give me a thumbs up, give me a subscribe. Everyone knows that these videos are going to be a hot commodity. Everyone knows that people are going to go after these videos, too, because they want to protect this film. Again, Rotten Tomatoes got rid of that score. Of the audience score, of the audience interest rating, rather, to protect this film. It was never a review bomb. There were never any reviews that were listed. It was people who simply said, hey, I have no interest in seeing this film. In fact, last time I checked, those reviews are actually still up there. They rushed this thing so quickly that if you still click on some of these things, old remnants of what was there are still, like as you see right here. This is how fast they rushed it. These scores are still available. Notice, not interested, never cared of Captain Marvel, where's the Black Widow movie? Looks kind of boring, don't know anything about the character. Trailer have done nothing for me. The third one got my attention. As you can see, these are people simply saying, I am not interested in this movie. Not interested, not my cup of tea. These are not ratings. These are not reviews. So if you go to see this movie, only then leave a review. And if you hate this movie, make sure you let them know why you hate it. Make sure you let them know that you indeed saw the movie, and let them know very loudly and clear. These are not review bombs. This is not a conspiracy on our end. This is a conspiracy on Rotten Tomatoes' end and on the critics' end, for covering up scores, trying to, imagine that there are no problems at all, that everyone's happy dandy, that everything's great. Oh, the premiere was wonderful, was fantastic, everything was great about it. And yet, when you actually read the reviews, much different story comes into play. Thank you for watching, and as always, God bless.